Tonight on Coyote News this week, this marks the 100th anniversary of D-Days. Find out how students have been celebrating homecoming so far and what's coming up for the rest of the week. I'm Brent Seehofer.
And I'm Kathleen Surrey. Find out how you can prevent yourself from getting the flu this season. And Ultimate Frisbee's only been a club sport at USD for 2 years, but this group's already hosted teams from across the state.
Plus, the soccer and volleyball teams are both on winning streaks. But first, the headlines with Delaney Schenk.
The first person diagnosed with Ebola in the United States has died. Thomas Eric Duncan caught the virus in Liberia and was kept in isolation at a Dallas hospital. In a statement earlier today, federal officials say they will begin temperature screenings of passengers arriving from West Africa at 5 airports throughout the country. A pilot has died after crashing his air tanker while battling a wildfire at Yosemite National Park. The tanker was being used to help battle the Dog Rock fire when authorities lost contact with the pilot. The FAA says the cause of the crash is unknown. Walmart says it will end health insurance coverage for some of its part-time workers due to rising healthcare costs. The cuts will affect about 30,000 employees who work less than 30 hours a week. And those are your headlines.
Thanks, Delaney. Students' Coyote ID cards aren't just for swiping during mealtimes or at sporting events. Coyote News' Kayla Dorhout explains why students and businesses enjoy one of the card's features, Coyote Cash.
When it's time for that burrito, grab your Coyote Cash card. It connects you to food, coffee drinks, and even campus vending machines. Michaela Dietrich recommends Coyote Cash to students.
But I would say if you're a student here on campus, that Coyote Cash is really convenient, so it's nice to have just a little bit extra money on your card in case you forget your wallet.
You don't have to be on campus to use the card for transactions.
You can also use your Coyote Cash at local businesses such as Latte Da, where owner Sandy Marker says they will accept Coyote Cash for years to come.
Yeah, I'll continue taking it. I think it's a good convenience for the students and for parents too.
Latte Da is walking distance to campus, and Marker says positive feedback from customers attracts the most business.
Now that I'm a little closer, I'm hoping just them seeing me and word of mouth.
Dietrich says she uses Coyote Cash off campus.
If they take Coyote Cash, it's convenient because I usually have my card with me, so that's nice too.
There are many businesses that accept Coyote Cash on and off campus. For Coyote News, I'm Kayla Dorhout.
Tomorrow night, former USA Today editor and former museum president Peter Pritchard will be presented with the 2014 Al Newharth Award for Excellence in Media. Pritchard served as the editor of USA Today from 1988 to 1995. During this time, USA Today became the most read newspaper with over 2.3 million readers. Pritchard's currently the chair of the Museum Board of Trustees. Gene Polizinski with the museum will be moderating a panel discussion with Pritchard tomorrow afternoon. Coyote News' Jackie Hendry is live in the muck with Polizinski to find out more details about tomorrow's event. Jackie?
Thanks, Brent. Well, this is the first year that a Newharth Award has been presented on USD's campus since Mr. Newharth's passing in 2013. Mr. Polizinski is here for the museum, which was one of Mr. Newharth's many projects. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad to be with you.
First of all, can you tell us why it's important to continue presenting this award even after its namesake's passing?
I think Al had in mind the idea of saluting someone every year who really adds to the practice of journalism, to the quality, to the fairness, particularly important to him, a fair press. So I think that's important we carry on that tradition. That need to honor those people and encourage that kind of journalism hasn't been gone, and I'm sure Al would want us to carry on.
What can you tell us about the process of choosing the recipient every year of this award?
Well, there's a group within the Freedom Forum and USD that get together and talk about nominees, and then we make a selection and we approach that person, and usually they're quite honored. I can tell you, just having been through that process with them, and it's an attempt to find someone who has been at a linchpin moment in development of new media or in again, reaching out for equality and a fair press. So those are the things that go into that kind of decision to who are the candidates.
And then finally, how likely is it that this award will continue to be presented at USD?
Well, I think that one of the things that we want to look at is the relationship between the Freedom Forum and USD. And, this is Al's alma mater, and this award was very important to Al. And it had such a great home since 1989 when Walter Cronkite presented it, and it was presented with that award here. So this is a wonderful home for that award, and I think our relationship is going to go on for a long time.
Thank you. That was Jean Polizinski with the Newseum. The Al Newharth Media Award will be presented to Peter Pritchard tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the Al Newharth Media Center. Live in the Muck, I'm Jackie Hendry.
Thanks, Jackie. Even though fall's just begun, the flu season is right around the corner, and local health officials are urging students to get vaccinated. Anthony Burbach is a physician's assistant with Sanford Vermillion, and he says the flu is an uncomfortable sickness that can take students out of class for up to 10 days. Burbach says getting the flu shot helps prevent this illness. He also recommends washing hands with soap and water and using hand sanitizer often to keep yourself safe from not only the flu, but the common cold as well. Through Sanford Vermillion, the flu shot is free for anyone 18 and under. Burbach says for most patients, the shot is fully covered through medical insurance. And coming up after the break, find out how quickly student tickets sold out for the big game this Saturday. But first, hear from a group of world-traveling musicians who also happen to be USD faculty.
They're USD faculty by day and world-traveling musicians by night. The Rollins Piano Trio gave their first home concert of the year last week. The members are all professors in the College of Fine Arts. They're performed as far home from Taiwan and South Korea. Last week's show was titled A Matter of Place. It featured a piece called The Four Seasons, and the trio added humor to the show by matching accessories for every season. The Rollins Piano Trio performs on campus again in November. The group's been performing since 1987 and has produced 5 CDs.
The Dakota Days game is quickly approaching, and tickets for the game are currently on sale. This is the 100th year of Dakota Days, and fans and alumni aren't waiting to reserve their seats to fill up the dome.
The dome still holds about 10,000 people. Of those 10,000 tickets that will be given out for that game, 1,700 will go to students. Those students' ticket delivery will start on Tuesday, and you can pick up your tickets in the Muck. And those will be first come, first serve, first with the Coyote Crazies, and then the rest of the tickets after that.
Which still leaves some room for UNI fans.
Northern Iowa receives an allotment of tickets. They'll receive about 200, which is by contract in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And then the remaining tickets will be sold to USD fans. So they're being sold right now for $30 a ticket, $15 for youth.
The ticket office has less than 400 tickets still available. 1,700 tickets were placed aside for students and were sold out within 3 hours yesterday.
Students are urged to live the tradition for 100th anniversary of D-Days, and one way to do that is to purchase D-Days apparel. Although the theme for the official shirts is professional for D-Days events, student organizations can still have fun with their own designs.
Our second year law school class of 2016, we're selling the D-Days t-shirts to raise money for our graduation funds.
The official D-Days shirts must be approved by the marketing committee. However, student-run organizations have a much looser structure.
Because it is like a class funding, it's different than any other law school committee because it's an entire class. So we don't need necessarily direct approval from the dean of the school.
Shirts are being sold from $10 to $15 depending on the organization. Sunglasses in USD colors are also available for sale.
2 more cases of Ebola have been confirmed in Spain. An Ebola patient in Texas died this morning, and many people are worried it'll start affecting more Americans. On this week's Coyote blog, Malachi Peterson explains how Ebola is spread.
As college students, it seems that we all have a lot on our plates to stress about. Between juggling classes, homework, studying, having a social life, and getting the necessary amount of sleep. The last thing that we need is another thing to worry about. So why does it seem like everybody is freaking out about catching Ebola? There are less than a handful of confirmed Ebola cases in the United States. Yes, a man died in Texas. If we lived in Dallas, I can see why we would possibly be concerned about catching it. But we're in South Dakota. The only reason that those patients have the virus is because they were in Africa. Unless you recently returned from Africa or were planning a trip there, I don't think you're in any immediate danger. If you're still worried about catching the virus, here's some more reassuring information for you. Ebola can only be spread through bodily fluids or from objects that the infected person was in contact with. It isn't even spread through the air. Don't get me wrong, the outbreak in Africa is a big deal, and we can be worried about those there. We just aren't quite in immediate danger yet. I just wanted to clear some of that up for you all so we can get back to worrying about more important things more relevant to us. For instance, having a great 100th Dakota Days, and possibly getting that dreaded homework done. For Coyote Blog, I'm Malachi Peterson.
Thanks, Malachi. Coming up after the break, find out who was selected as D-Day's royalty. But first, see what big events have happened so far this week and which ones are still to come.
What made you pair up with the sound to show your school spirit?
Go for the up and under, and that one will fall forward.
91.1 Coyote Radio.
Last night, many talented students took the stage during this year's Yotes Got Talent competition, which is hosted by CAB. Some students favored singing either with the piano or guitar or just a cappella, while others chose to play the guitar or even the bagpipes. Head football coach Joe Glenn even performed the school fight song while playing piano. Raina Pearson received third place for her 90-second speed painting. Shatise Archie whistled her way to a second place finish. And Zach Fuller took home first place for his tap dancing routine. After the competition, winners were announced for the Dakota Day royalty nominees as they made their way to the stage. 7 men and 7 women were chosen by the students, and Mr. and Miss Dakota Days will be announced at halftime of the football game on Saturday. CAB hosts many events throughout the year that involve students in friendly competition, including USD's Dancing with the Stars and USD Idol.
Dakota Days events continue throughout the rest of the week. Tonight, there's a Vermtown Bash going on until 7 in downtown Vermilion. Thursday, there's a fun run, the Al Newharth Awards ceremony, and a showing of the movie Animal House. On Friday, a photo recreation is scheduled in Old Main Courtyard at 4, and the prep rally starts at 5. Festivities on Saturday kick off at 10 in the morning with a parade. Tailgating starts at 11, and the football game is at 3. On Friday, the USD Alumni Association will be hosting a red tie event to promote their Onward South Dakota campaign. Coyote News' Megan Card is live in the muck with Michelle Green, Director of Marketing and Strategic Communication, to talk about the campaign. Megan?
Thanks, Brent. The Onward campaign has been raising money for the past 2 years, and I'm here with Michelle Green to talk about how the foundation plans to meet its $250 million mark. Thanks for joining me today, Michelle.
Absolutely, pleasure to be here.
Tell me a little about the red tie event on Friday.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great party right here in the Munster University Center. We're hoping and expecting actually now about 626 guests as of about noon today, so it'll be a great event to really welcome everybody to the public phase of our campaign. There are multiple phases to a campaign. This is our second. For the last 2 years, since January 1st of 2012, we have been in the leadership phase, which means we're focused on really the depth of giving, and we're focused on really significant gifts from our alumni base and our donor base. Now we start to focus on breadth. We want to increase that donor base. We want to invite everyone to be a part of this wonderful effort.
And why should current students care about the fundraising efforts at USD?
You bet. You'll often hear us talk about the 4 pillars of the campaign. Those 4 pillars are student scholarships, building projects, faculty support, and student enrichment. So the dollars that we're raising really are making a difference for those students each and every day, because we know scholarships get students here. We know great buildings attract them. And we know that the top-notch faculty that we have here are what sets us apart. And of course, that experience is unlike any other.
Thanks, Michelle. That was Michelle Green from the USD Foundation talking about the future of the Onward campaign. Live from the muck, I'm Megan Card.
Thanks, Megan. Some fans say it's the sport of the future, but as Nicole Griffith found out in this week's Yote Report, the Ultimate Frisbee Club is already bringing other schools to USD's turf.
It requires the skills of football, soccer, and basketball, but in this sport, contact is not allowed.
USD's Ultimate Frisbee Club has only been around for 2 years, but it has seen tremendous growth, leading to a statewide invitational tournament.
The co-ed club can often be seen practicing on the quad outside the muck. Their goal is to get the frisbee from one end of the field to the other without dropping or running with it. The School of Mines and Technology, the University of Sioux Falls, and one Sioux Falls high school team competed in the first tournament. Junior Zach Schulte helped start the club and is now one of its captains.
I like it a lot because it's kind of like an obscure sport. So not very many people play it. It's a little bit more well known on the college level, but when I mention it to my friends or my parents, they're like, oh, what's that, you know? And it's just something that's just kind of a part of you.
Schulte says if you want to join the club, it definitely helps to be athletic, but the desire to play a unique sport is what really drives the team. The club holds tryouts every year, and fans can find out schedule details on the group's Facebook page. For the Yote Report, I'm Nicole Griffith.
Coming up after the break, the tennis team hosted their Lone Fall Invitational last weekend. But first, find out how the swim team practiced without being able to get in the water. Stay tuned.
Always there for you. Coyote News, Wednesday, live at 5.
Tonight on Coyote Sports, the soccer and volleyball teams just can't seem to lose. And find out the obstacle the swimming team is having to overcome. I'm Charlie Daldorf.
And I'm Michaela Feldman. Find out how the men's and women's cross-country teams did in Brookings. And sports commentator Grant Boziacki discusses something that consumes hours of football fans' team every day, every week, fantasy football. First, the headlines. Delaney?
A tentative trial date is set for Adrian Peterson for his charge of child abuse. The trial date has been set for December 1st. However, his trial might be moved up in hopes of getting Peterson back on the field sooner. Peterson was placed on the NFL exempt list in September after abusing his 4-year-old son. ESPN and TNT announced they will continue to show NBA games for the next 9 years. The new deal will start with the 2016-17 season and will increase ESPN's television, digital, highlights, data, audio, and international NBA rights. The announcement was made Monday by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and ESPN President John Skipper. The deal's value is over $2 billion per year. The St. Louis Cardinals and San Francisco Giants advanced to the National League Championship Series, joining the Kansas City Royals and the Baltimore Orioles from the American League as the final teams remaining in the MLB. The championship games will be Friday and Saturday, with the winners facing each other in the World Series starting on the 20th. And those are your headlines.
Ryan Sager and the football team were unable to capitalize with a win off their bye week this past weekend. The Coyotes were on the road against Southern Illinois. The game was tied at 10 at halftime, but the second half was all Southern Illinois. The Coyotes couldn't get anything going and would go on to fall 41-10. The Salukis outgained the Yotes by 206 yards in the game. Eric Schuford led the team in receiving with 65 yards. Against UNI this Saturday, USD's starting quarterback Kevin Earl will return after sitting out the past 4 games from a thumb injury against Oregon. The D-Days game will air on ESPN3.
With their conference win over IPFW on Sunday, the USD women's soccer team improves to 8-4-1 overall. This is the most wins by any team in the Summit League so far this season. Goalkeeper Mackenzie Victor was named Summit League Defensive Player of the Week after recording 2 shutouts this past weekend. She had 10 saves on the weekend, and USD has now had 8 shutout victories, including 1 tie. USD will play at Oral Roberts on Friday before hosting North Dakota State on Sunday. The 9th-ranked USD women's cross-country team placed second behind 3rd-ranked Minnesota at the SDSU Classic. They were led by a 4th-place finish by Amber Eichhorn and a 5th-place finish by Katie Whitestein. The 12th-ranked men's team placed 3rd behind NDSU and SDSU. The men were led by senior Brent Hayes with a 2nd-place finish. The teams will run in the Dakota Days 5K Fun Run at 4 on Friday.
The women's tennis team battled the cold Saturday as they hosted the USD Coyote Invitational, where 4 USD players finished with 2-1 records. Alice Scott and Samwana Bidakarol won their first matches, and Nina Barutsik and Malika Pavlovich won their first match 6-2. Scott finished first in her flight, while Dragana Brankovic and Pavlovich finished second in theirs. Interim coach Dan Hansen is coaching the team until a permanent coach is hired. This was the Coyotes' final competition of the fall season. They will continue on the road in mid-January.
The USD swimming and diving teams started their seasons with some adversity. A broken pump in the pool left the teams with no option but to begin their seasons with a few leaks on land. Although the teams are now back in the pool, junior Maggie Smith says the broken pump came at a tough time.
So we're just getting kind of back into shape and back into the routine of things, so it kind of just changed it up a little bit, not being able to be in the pool and just being on land, which is weird to say.
Head coach Jason Mulhold isn't worried about the broken pool affecting his team.
We've got a strong, resilient group of kids that will bounce back just fine, and if this week's any indication, I think we're going to be just fine.
Mulhold says land workouts are just as beneficial for the swimmers.
We're really dominating our chest and arms. The dryland workout gives us a chance to focus on our legs, back, and some of our weak areas, and kind of just make us an overall better athlete.
The Coyotes will host Minnesota State Mankato on Friday at the Dakota Dome.
Kendall Crittenbrink notched 14 kills on Sunday as the Coyote volleyball team won its 5th straight match in a 3-0 sweep against Fort Wayne. Riley Howard was named Summit League Defensive Player of the Week for the 2nd time this season. She recorded 60 digs during the week in matches against Omaha, IUPUI, and IPFW. The Coyotes are now 11-6 on the season and 5-0 in conference play. With the wins, they jumped to 56th in the RPI polls, their highest ranking ever. The USD will host Southwestern Illinois on Friday before traveling to Denver on Sunday. In this week's sports commentary, Grant Boziacki shares some of his fantasy football expertise.
Fantasy football, can't go without it, right? Hopefully everyone out there is remaining patient as we're in the meat grinder portion of the season. Bye weeks are in full swing and injuries are always inevitable. Hopefully this past week you didn't go up against Steven Gostkowski and his 21 fantasy points for a kicker, I must add, because I know I did. Hashtag fantasy life. Despite my 2-3 record, thanks Monty Ball, I'm keeping my head held up high. Now moving on to this week's advice, because that's what I'm here for, right? If they're not already picked up in your league, 2 of the hottest pickups hail from the New York Football Giants. Andre Williams and Odell Beckham Jr., both rookies, have some major appeal. Williams is going to get a lot of carries, and this week he's going up against the disastrous Eagle defense. While Beckham is someone you might have to be a little more patient with, but he could pay major dividends when your star receiver hits his bye week later on in the year. He was drafted 12th overall and now finally healthy. You better believe the G-men will feed him the pigskin. 2 other wide receiver notes. Don't sweat Kelvin Benjamin's lackluster outing last week in Chicago. He's going to continue being a great value pick for your fantasy team. And lastly, one of my deep sleepers heading into this year was Rams wide receiver Brian Quick. He's been solid, don't get me wrong, but with that being said, he might be a guy you should try to look to trade with his value currently where it's at. Remember, he plays in the NFC West and has yet to face Richard Sherman or Patrick Peterson yet this year. So, just worth mentioning. For Coyote Sports, I'm Grant Boziacki.
Thanks, Grant. Coming up next, find out what students say the do's and don'ts of Dakota Days are, and learn what the football team thinks about D-Days. Stay with us.
Have you ever felt alone in a sea of people? You're silent, but screaming on the inside. Your tears are hidden behind a forced smile. 15% of those clinically depressed commit suicide, but those people aren't just numbers. They're your sister, your brother, your best friend. They're that person you put down the other day. Every 40 seconds, someone around the world commits suicide. Make the lost the found.
Homecoming celebrations go on in many different ways during this special homecoming week.
We asked students for advice and some of the do's and don'ts for D-Days week.
Just don't be stupid.
Make sure you have a good time, but make sure you don't get in trouble.
Do wear clothes. Probably don't carry a backpack full of alcohol. I saw a kid get tased once.
Don't get caught by the cops.
Have lots of fun. Go to the game.
And don't stay home.
Don't worry about sleeping because you can sleep the Monday we have school off. Do be smart and don't get too crazy.
Don't get in trouble.
Don't get overdose of alcohol.
Don't get too drunk, I guess.
Have a lot of fun and just be safe.
Drink lots of water.
Do's, go to class because it's still important. Don'ts, don't go to class drunk because you probably won't absorb anything.
Don't overdrink and make a fool of yourself.
Don't sit around and do homework.
Well, I never drank as a minor, so that's probably a don't.
Do follow UPD and Vermilion PD on Twitter and Facebook.
Don't carry a backpack full of beer.
Just have fun.
Be responsible.
And cheer on the Yotes. Go Yotes.
Be careful.
It's D-Days week, and as always, the week will conclude with a football game in the Dakota Dome against UNI.
As we continue our What It Means to Be a Coyote series, we'll hear from the football team about the excitement surrounding the big game.
This year, USD is celebrating the 100th anniversary of Dakota Days. D-Days is a beloved tradition at USD with many activities for students to do throughout the week. But it all leads up to the football game on Saturday. Many on the team say that this game is especially big.
D-Days, it's always a big feeling. I mean, this is the 100th anniversary too, so it's going to be a big game. A lot of alum coming back, so you know it's going to be a big game.
I think just the excitement and the buzz that's in the air. I think there's just, a new life kind of with the student body. The team and everybody's got a little more pep in their step.
Every year, countless alumni come back for the homecoming game and to reminisce about the past years. But one alum gets to enjoy the D-Days game up close and personal.
Dakota Days was always a deal where in those days we'd play every other year at South Dakota State for Dakota Days, so that was a double whammy. It means a lot. There's a lot of pride and tradition in USD, and Dakota Day is huge.
So go to the game this weekend. Cheer your Coyotes and stay for the entire game. Enjoy your time at USD because before you know it, it'll all be over.
Sometimes kangaroos go a little crazy. When you see them fight, you see them slapping each other. But have you ever seen them kicking each other? Two kangaroos started kicking each other during a fight on a residential street in Australia. Kangaroos aren't the best at walking, but they can hop from 9 to 45 feet in the air. A more powerful kick comes when they balance on their tails and kick with both legs. Australia has 3 different kinds of kangaroos, the eastern gray kangaroo and the western gray and the red. Some stand at 6 feet tall and weigh nearly 200 pounds. Pick up a volant today and read about the evolution of D-Days over 100 years, how local doctors are prepared to treat Ebola, and how volunteers are building affordable homes for low-income families. That's all for Coyote News. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Have a great night. We'll see you next time.